I used to go into the Eastern Bloc countries a lot, refereeing Russia, Czechoslovakia, Hungary, East Germany, um, Romania, and these were areas where the politics were different, and you had to be careful as an individual. Always treated very professionally, and I can remember, you know, refereeing on unification night. Um, a team from East Germany and West Germany. Um, we were in Chemnitz, Karl Marx Stadt, the city's called, and we took a car and we drove to the wall. So there I was. I'd refereed a football match, and I was watching people stand on the wall, knocking it down. It was quite
Wow.
a magical experience, given that on one occasion I was refereeing East Germany v Switzerland in a European game, and I flew into West Berlin and then was taken by the Football Federation car in West Berlin to Checkpoint Charlie. Get out the car and you walk through Checkpoint Charlie to get to the other end, and there's a fear factor in that,
Mm.
and it was quite interesting because at the other side was a brilliantly speaking English guy, obviously East German who could speak brilliant English, and you could see the bullet marks on the wall, and it was quite interesting because then people had, that area, people had been killed trying to escape
Mm.
from east to west. It was so the wall coming down. So it's not always about football,
Yeah, that's
and
amazing.
so the Olympic Games in '88. Um, Great experience. I was able to sit in the stadium and watch the very top athletes, sit with the coaches, and then I suddenly realised that how amateur refereeing was, even though I was operating in a professional environment. The, the nutritionalist. I sat alongside a Kenyan coach who was telling me to the second the laps in a 10,000 meter race that they would run. I was just incredible. The preparation. I sailed into a game, refereed a football match, came home, went to work. And there were pressures in that. Let me tell you, serious pressures where I got to put in a shift for work, even though I was a sales manager, or even when I was sales director. So sometimes I'd be in the office at 6:30 to enable me to leave the office at 3 to get to a football match. And
Wow.
and and so there were those pressures. I was appointed to referee New Zealand versus Australia, in a World Cup game qualifier, and I went to referee the match. We'd probably say it was semi-professional level, really. But I can remember coming off the field and there was a phone call waiting, and it was to tell me that I'd been suspended for taking leave without permission, even though I had a letter saying holidays. So there were pressures on availability of time and being employed, and
Wow.
so you know. Olympic Games was incredible. I refereed West Germany versus Brazil, Russia, America. Um, Great experiences. I'd been informed by Sepp Blatter that I was refereeing the final of the Olympic Games, and I was really looking forward to that. And then Germany and Brazil came together, uh, and Havelange, who was Brazilian and was president of FIFA, decided that he wanted me to referee that game, and that's how FIFA was run at that time.
Mm.
So I was called to the Camino Royale in Mexico in the city and told, look, we have a bigger match than the final, and you're going to referee this. So that's what happened. But nonetheless, it was a terrific match.
That's
So
amazing.
so those are the games. I mean, the fabulous experience as referee. You learn a lot. A referee never stops learning. Every game is a challenge, and you know players in those 70s, 80s, 90s. They were tough players. There were a lot of, you had Wimbledon, you knew you'd got a job on your hands. Everybody in the media was concentrating on Vinnie Jones, and I was concentrating on Larry Sanchez because he was the hit man. You got Dennis Wise and others, but you learned that he was the subtle one. He would do it off the ball
Yeah.
without you even thinking. So the idea was you learn to keep one eye on Larry Sanchez. Good player. Don't get me wrong. With Vinnie Jones, you just got a load of banter. They were,
Mm.
and Harry Bassett, who I got to know when he took over Sheffield United, much better, would give you the banter. But there was a camaraderie in their style of play, and that was the differential that you got. And of course, unlike the modern game, where you might have, I think there was a period where Michael Oliver refereed last season or the season before. He had Tottenham 7 times in a season. The maximum we would get is 3 in my era. And of course, Anthony Taylor. If we take Anthony Taylor, who refereed this weekend, Manchester United game, he lives in Altrincham, so he's Greater Manchester. And he's an Altrincham fan. I'm not questioning his integrity, but he is an Altrincham fan. But that wouldn't happen in my day. As a Sheffield-born referee, I wouldn't be allowed to referee, unless it was testimonial, I wouldn't be allowed to referee the Sheffield clubs. And they would also take the count in that. So I think during my career, I only refereed Leeds United a couple of times. And I think one of those was against Middlesbrough because they were regarded as 2 Yorkshire clubs. Whereas now, I think you get referees that side of things is less of a problem, and I don't think they take that too much into account.
That's really interesting. I find it amazing that you've been speaking for around 45 minutes and we've not really kind of covered anything about what it's like being the man in the middle at all, like during the games. It's all about the kind of culture and the experiences around, which I find fascinating.
I mean, being in the middle. I mean, look, I think more move towards a little bit to the PGMOL and try and link the two, because when I was an active referee, we had to be fit, right? We took an annual fitness test. That's all. And what I think was really important was that I had to be fit, and I prided myself being fit. So training was important, and a lot of it was really on the basis of the amount of effort that you put in. Games came 2-3 times a week, but you still had to put the fitness levels in. When I became boss of the PGMOL, I took that to a different level, because the first bit was to say, right, I'm going to bring in a sports scientist. So I brought a guy in called Matt Weston, a qualified, fully accredited sports scientist. And the referees then started a regime. We sat down, Matt and I, and we said, right, we're going to make a lifestyle change. The game was changing. In my day, it was endurance. Long balls, a lot of running, but backwards and forwards. With the modern game, and certainly when the pass back rule came in, we were now involved in ensuring that it became explosive sprinting.
Right.
So the training regimes were tough. Referees were put through it. I introduced the polar heart monitor because we could measure very accurately the distances and speed platforms. But when they were away, because they did 4 training sessions a week and the games, we could also measure that in terms of their training. So they would have a training plan for whatever day, and that would be measured. The polar heart monitor would download and capture that information. Uh, we would we brought in a nutritionalist to start saying, right, okay, body shape was important. So all those things came into that regime, and therefore the change initially was to say, right, okay, we're going to make you fitter, we're going to make you more mobile, and we're going to have a performance analysis system that's going to measure very accurately what you're doing during the game. And I can remember going to Bolton to see Sam Allardyce, and I saw a product called Prozone. It was produced in Leeds. It was an animation, but it told you everything that individual player was doing, the speeds and everything. And I spent about a year, 1 day a month, going to Prozone, talking to the then owners to create Prozone Referee. So we had a detailed analysis of each individual referee. We could tell when he was fatiguing by his recovery rates.